Located roughly halfway between Lake Van, to the southwest in Turkey, and Lake Shirvan to the northeast in Armenia, the Ararat Mountains dominate the Armenian highlands. The Ararat Mountains are located within the southern end of the Ararat Plain, and they thus create a fertile agricultural zone with a temperate climate. Together, the Ararat Mountains straddle the borders of what are present-day Turkey, Armenia, Iran, and Azerbaijan. Mount Ararat or Greater Ararat rises to a height of 5,137 meters. Mount Ararat's neighboring mountain, Little Ararat or Ararat the Lesser, rises upwards to 3,925 meters. Mount Ararat and Little Ararat are the highest and sixth highest points in Turkey. On a clear day, both can be seen from downtown Yerevan, Armenia, which is 54 kilometers away from Mount Ararat. The monastery, Hervirip, additionally affords stunning views of the Ararat Mountains from Armenia. Ancient myths and legends. In ancient times, successive Mesopotamian peoples regarded the mountains as sacred, but they were also wary of the fierce, local inhabitants. The Sumerians, Akkadians, and Assyrians each believed that Mount Ararat was not only the home of their gods, but also the source of their civilizations, as the waters of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers flowed downwards from the mountain to fertilize the lands adjacent to their cities and settlements. Assyrian texts, in particular, praise the holiness and majesty of the mountains, describing them as a place where heavenly birds cannot reach. Mesopotamians, however, also associated the mountains with the fierce tribes that inhabited Mount Ararat's slopes. Regularly, they raided Mesopotamian villages and settlements. Another perceived danger associated with Mount Ararat was that of disastrous flooding. Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians each had their own flood account, but they all in turn referenced the mountains of Ararat as the place in which their respective heroes found refuge after surviving torrential rains and perilous waters. An ancient Akkadian tale, from the 3rd millennium BCE, delineates the exploits of a man called Utnapishti, who became immortal and survived a catastrophic flood by landing his vessel upon the tallest mountains in the north of his country. Gilgamesh, the celebrated Sumerian hero, reached a northerly mountain called Mashu, which was the location through which the sun rose and set every day. Ancient Armenians called the mountain Azatmasis, which meant holy and free in the Old Armenian language. Kads, which were guardian spirits of royal and noble families, dwelled on Greater Ararat. Pagan Armenians found it taboo to scale the mountains as they believed, much like the Sumerians, that Mount Ararat was the place where the sun came to rest during the night. Even after their conversion to Christianity, Armenians were still reluctant to risk climbing to Mount Ararat's peak. There is, nevertheless, a legend that King Turdit III, Armenia's first Christian king, climbed Mount Ararat to bring down stones for the foundations of 8 new churches. Armenians have many myths and legends about the base of the Ararat Mountains, many of which predate Christianity, and include dragons, snakes, and other reptilian monsters. These myths and legends are strongly correlated with the volcanic steam, ash, and black waters that spewed forth out of Mount Ararat during eruptions and earthquakes. Movses Koronetsi, an Armenian historian, and the author of the History of Armenia, wrote that Armenians are the direct descendants of Noah, through his son Japheth, and that Haik, the mythical founder of Armenia, and ancestor to all Armenians, established his nation within the vicinity of Mount Ararat. Mount Ararat in scriptural and historical texts. There is much historical speculation as to when and how the biblical story of Noah and the Great Flood first became associated with Mount Ararat. Some linguists contend that Ararat is merely a variation of Urartu, which was the leading ancient polity to the north of Assyria during the Iron Age. The Hebrew Book of Jubilees, composed around 100 BCE, related that Noah's Ark was located on Mount Lubar in the land of Ararat. The Jewish historian, Flavius Josephus, used the Ararat to denote a mountain south of Lake Van, but he subsequently attested traditions that Noah's Ark came to rest on Mount Paris. In ways similar to the older Mesopotamian myths and legends, the Bible references the Mount Ararat in Genesis 8:4, in relation to the story of Noah. And the ark rested in the 7th month, and on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. The Quran is explicit in naming the mountain upon which Noah's Ark landed as Mount Judi and not Mount Ararat. A voice cried out, "Earth, swallow up your waters. Heaven, cease your rain." The floods abated and his will was done. The ark came to rest upon Al-Judi, and a voice declared, "Gone are the evildoers." The Arab geographer, Ibn Qardadbeh, and the Arab historian, Abu al-Husayn Ali, al-Masudi, both asserted that the ark came to rest in Assyria, not too far from one of the sources of the Tigris River. Previously, it was thought by some historians that the presence of Jews in Armenia's Araxes Valley might have provided the catalyst in the reassociation of Mount Ararat with Noah's Ark, but this assertion seems improbable. Just like historians throughout early medieval Europe, early Armenian historians opined that the biblical Ararat was located in the ancient province of Corduene, situated to the southeast of Lake Van. Today this area is part of modern Turkey, and close to the source of the Tigris River and the city of Cizre. The arrival of European crusaders, and intermarriage between Armenians and European crusaders in the 11th and 12th century, seem to have accelerated the reassertion that Mount Ararat was the spot where the ark came to land. When Europeans returned to continental Europe from the Holy Land or Armenia, they reiterated that Mount Ararat, located in the heart of Armenia, was where the ark could be found. It is worth noting that in later times, Mount Ararat marked the frontier between Turkey and Iran between 1600 to 1800. Association with Armenian people and culture. For thousands of years, the Armenian people have utilized the Ararat Mountains as emblems of their national and cultural identity. Appearing frequently in modern material culture, on everything from t-shirts and bumper stickers, to wooden sculptures and necklaces, Mount Ararat has also graced Armenian currency, stamps, and its 3 coats of arms since 1918. Although Armenians see Mount Ararat as a symbol for their deep losses and tragedies in the 20th century, as it currently lies within the borders of Turkey, they also view the mountains as intricately connected to their faith, religious beliefs, and artistic traditions.